Ferrari is speeding up the process of upgrading their car in a bid to not lose the step to Red Bull after the remarkable first 8 races of the season. However, the 9th round in Canada has shown that there is still a lot to be worked on, and this will all be addressed on the next circuit in Barcelona. Fred Vasseur is quite optimistic that his team has what it takes to compete for race wins and bounce back immediately, but with Red Bull bringing upgrades on their own, what should we expect from Ferrari, and how can they defend from the charging McLarens as well? It goes without saying that Ferrari is the team that caught our attention the most throughout the 2024 season. However, the setback they suffered from in Montreal has brought a little bit of clarity to our minds when it comes to who remains to be the dominant force in Formula One. Nonetheless, Ferrari has lost any hope of a competitive season throughout the 2024 campaign, and part of the huge upgrade package they had prepared for Silverstone will now come to Barcelona. This comes in times when Ferrari have openly said through their team principal Fred Vasseur that they cannot be lacking in performance anymore, and if they want to fight for wins, they need to be consistent in coming to every race of the weekend. The news has been revealed by the technical director of Ferrari, Enrico Cardile, who went on to state that after the first block of upgrades in Imola, the team does not have a reason to prolong until Silverstone because every point and race matter. So the second step will be taken in Barcelona. The primary aim of the upgrades is to increase the overall load and improve the aerodynamic balance of the SF24, and the good news is that the issues that they have suffered from in Canada do seem to be a one-off, a weekend that was bound to happen to them sooner rather than later, as the team is happy that it happened earlier in the season. But accelerating the upgrade process for Barcelona, although sounding like perfect news for the fans, is something that could bring a bit of negative feedback due to the fact that the engineers are rushed into bringing the upgrades a bit earlier than anticipated, although understanding the car's platform does help them a lot in this regard. These upgrades will be further exploited in Austria. However, Barcelona is a circuit that gives a lot of positivity when it comes to understanding your car, because this is the track that the F1 teams used to test their challenges on in the previous seasons before it changed to Bahrain. The fact that it contains a lot of slow, medium and high-speed corners, as well as the traditional outlook, gives the teams more than enough understanding as to where their car is located and whether or not they could challenge for wins in the following period. As of now, the primary issue that the team will have with the new upgrade package is the fact that they will have to bring the upgraded version of the floor, which should extract more downforce and add around a tenth of performance on the car. But the time of production is kind of crucial. It takes around 7 to 8 weeks in order to produce the floor model, but the fact that the team started working on it quite a while ago goes to show that there is a genuine opportunity they will bring it to Barcelona, with the primary goal remaining that the team would have a much better understanding of the floor and not bring it by all means. Ferrari are still realistic about their performance, and what we saw in the first couple of races of this year, especially after Imola, goes to show that the team has a genuine pace that is yet to be revealed. They are just having issues with the tyre warm-up. The car addressed the issue of being fast over a one-lap pace, but overheating the tyres very quickly during the race. So what seems to be an issue now is the fact that the team is struggling to bring heat into the tyres. This does not allow them a perfect operating window for qualifying, and while it gives the comfort of running longer on the selected tyres, the fact that they take so long to be brought into the optimal operating window means that McLaren and Red Bull are easily making up for this disadvantage by pushing earlier, so they are neutralising any damage from this Ferrari feature. This is something that will be addressed in Barcelona as well, and for instance, the tyre pressure is something that Ferrari will look deep into. As we all know, there's no need for a maximum limit in this section because teams know that too high of a tyre pressure can be detrimental. So when the tyre is stationary, the tyres are approximately 10 psi lower than the stabilised pressures at which the car runs. I must say this because the sooner the stable value is reached, the sooner the tyre heats up internally and the sooner it allows the tyres to work correctly, giving a lot of advantage to the car and the drivers. But if Ferrari are aiming to increase the tyre pressure in order to warm up the tyres, they would have to face the disadvantage of this, which is suffering a bit from a slight loss of grip and impacting the aerodynamic balance of the car, especially in qualifying. Staying at the lowest tyre pressure generates the most grip, but at the expense of a more difficult warm-up. So then again, a lot of importance will be placed on the track's surface. Barcelona's traditional look means that the tyres should suffer from wear and tear, not only because of the high-speed corners, but also due to the track temperatures that are quite high at this period in Europe. When talking about the upcoming race in Barcelona, Vasseur was quite optimistic that his team left everything that needs to be left in Canada and will be quite competitive in the upcoming race, as he went on to say, "We were quite confident with the pace for Canada, but at the beginning everything went wrong. I hope that we put all the tough, bad parts of the season on the same weekend. Last weekend was a tough one for Red Bull, and Montreal was tough for us. We just need to keep in mind that we still have 15 or 16 races to go. We're not world champions after a good weekend. We're not nowhere after a tough one. We will be back in Spain and back into the pace." Still, one can help but note the growing concern that McLaren has been poising on Ferrari and Red Bull. Norris is the only driver to have scored points on every single circuit so far, and his team is the one that's gathered the second most points in the last 3 weekends. This goes to show that the MCL 38 might have the best platform to work on in the foreseeable future, which gives them a lot to be happy about, as Norris himself said that the fight right now is between them and Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship, with him being just 7 points behind Leclerc in the Drivers' Championship as well. This is a threat that Vasseur himself has acknowledged, and when talking about it to a greater extent, the Frenchman said, "You have 6 or 8 cars in 1/10, sometimes 2/10. I remember a couple of qualifying races in Imola, we had 3 cars in 1,000ths of a second. If you don't have the perfect weekend, you can't be in front. In terms of operation, pit stops and strategy, you can't make a mistake." The goal for Ferrari is plain and simple: be as competitive as you can and push both of the cars in the front field, because prior to the beginning of Montreal, the difference in both championships was quite catchable, 24 in the constructors and 31 in the drivers. However, that doesn't mean that Ferrari can slack off just because Perez had a couple of bad weekends, which is a trend that will certainly help the Maranello team a lot in the following period in terms of catching up with the Austrian team and potentially utilising the strategy in their own favour by having 2 cars in between Verstappen. Be that as it may, McLaren are still one of the greatest threats, and the fact that they will bring upgrades of their own is definitely something that Ferrari is now more than aware of. And when talking about their own plans, Andrea Stella was quite positive for the remainder of the 2024 season. The team principal at McLaren said, "As expected, we had an entertaining and exciting Canadian Grand Prix. The field was compressed and the competition is very tight. With the variable weather today, several drivers were favourites for the win at different stages of the race, and it's important that Lando was one of those. This is the key message we take away from Montreal. McLaren is competitive, able to take podiums and compete for victories in different conditions." After quite some time, we finally have 3 teams that are ready to fight for the race wins. And who knows, with Mercedes looking extremely satisfied with their own upgrades in Imola that were further exercised in Montreal, the next batch that will arrive in Barcelona could turn them into contenders as well. With all of this in mind, what do you think about the Ferrari upgrades in Barcelona? And more importantly, do you think that they have what it takes to dethrone Max, or will they succumb under the pressure of the Austrian team as well as the Woking-based squad? Let us know in the comments below, and once you do that, make sure to click on the video that's appearing on your screen right now.